This time on the Low Boost Garage, we get the heads back on the motor and get the car ready to be taken apart. Next up for the LS swap is to put the heads back on. Now, as we said in the earlier episode, I got a Brian Tooley Stage 1 Turbo Cam. The guys at Brian Tooley Racing were great with matching up the right components that I needed to build the top end of this car. So they helped me pick out LS7 lifters with the proper push rods to go with the dual cone valve springs that I got. They also came with retainers and the little clips that go in on top. Not sure what they're called, but they all come in the package together. Make sure you wear eyewear when you do this because some of those little clip things can fly out and hit you right in the face.
No! In the face! In the face! No! He's still up! All right, everybody relax, take it easy.
I got a set of valve spring compressors that actually will compress the spring down enough to take them apart. It's a simple thing to think about, but they are really, really strong and you can't do them by hand. So you will break the heads, so don't do that. So carefully took off all the old valve springs and cleaned out everything. Then while I was at it, I hit the whole thing with some WD-40 and some good old-fashioned brake cleaner, even in the valves. It's not a port job, but it is good to clean them out. Next, putting everything back together. It is a lot more tedious to put the new valve springs back on, but you do want to make sure you do it correctly because that's the last thing you want to do is drop a valve onto a piston. So, very carefully, I placed everything back together. You got to do it 16 times, 2 valves per cylinder, of course. You just want to make sure that they seat right underneath the retainer. Someone told me to actually take a block of wood and then tap it lightly with a hammer to make sure it seats well. Just make sure you have the head elevated so if the valve comes down, it doesn't hit whatever surface you're working on. Make sure you do that. Next is actually putting the heads on the motor itself. I got LS9 head gaskets, which are multi-layer steel if you're not familiar. They're a little bit thicker than the stock ones, which might lower the compression a hair. Not totally sure about that, but they are much better for boosted applications, which is what this is going to be. Next, after soaking the lifters in oil, I put them in the trays and put them all together. You want to make sure they're all going in the right direction with the dot pointed towards the front. Just for oiling purposes, that's what the instructions were. Also, putting the head on, I got ARP head bolts. I didn't get ARP head studs. These were a little less expensive and I'm not going to be pushing the boost on this engine to the point where I'm really going to need studs. Bolts will work just fine. There may be different ways to torque it down, but in the instructions is what I went by. So I did 3 passes, 25, 50, and 75 foot-pounds to torque the head bolts down. I put the original truck intake on there just for shits and giggles to see how it would look. And yeah, they don't look pretty. They're ugly AF. But I did get an LS6 intake manifold that already had the fuel rails and cable-driven throttle body, which was perfect. So that fit on there just fine. That's the only one that's going to work. The hood clearance on the car is going to be too low to run a tunnel ram or a high ram intake. I would like the hood to be able to shut, so fingers crossed that we get to do that. And it looks pretty good, as you can see from the picture here. Before I put the oil pan on, I wanted to make sure I got the oil return line welded to the oil pan for my turbo. So I used a aluminum dash 10 AN fitting that went to the passenger side of the oil pan near the front of the motor. So I had my guys at Savage Speed Garage. Ever heard of them? Do the weld for me. They're going to be doing some more welding down the road as well, so I'm looking forward to have them help me with my car. Next up is getting a safe space to work underneath the car for the swap. So I got myself some QuickJacks. If you haven't heard of them, you should really check them out. They get the car just about 2 feet up off the ground, so I can get a creeper underneath it pretty easily. It definitely comes in handy. Next up is getting that new harmonic balancer on. And to be consistent, you want to go with the same parts for the front drive accessories as you do the harmonic balancer. So for space-wise, for me it was the F-Body Camaro configuration. So I have an F-Body Camaro harmonic balancer to go with my water pump, alternator, and maybe AC compressor if we can down the road, and power steering pump as well. So putting the harmonic balancer on was a lot easier with the harmonic balancer install tool. I got it from Summit Racing. I can put the link in the description below for you guys. It definitely makes it a lot easier. You just put it on and you kind of torque it down. So that's what I'm gonna do in the next episode. That's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna start taking the car apart, bit by bit, bolt by bolt. Don't worry, I'm gonna label everything. So I think I know where to put it all back. I'm gonna put it back together. We'll find out next time. So I'm right up to the point where I have to start taking the car apart, which is a perfectly good car. So I'm like, what do I do? Just start, just go. What is the saying? What is the saying?
Just do it! Do it! Just do it!
So, give me a like and a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to stay up to date on everything I'm doing with the build. Thank you guys for watching, and I look forward to making the next video for you.